you're at school or the university, like, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about people on the street that are shooting, like on the street, you know, like the guy in Seattle pulled out his gun and shot that vet in the chest on the street, on a crowded street, right? Like, it doesn't matter. So that's why it's all grouped together. Mass shooting is mass shooting. It doesn't matter what neighborhood it happened in, unless you're suggesting that it's normal or acceptable or
no,
I don't know.
No, not at all.
So that's why. I mean, the answer, in my opinion,
I can
in my opinion, the answer, the remedy for all of the above would be the same, right? But that's never going to happen. And so, you know, I'm at Brad's point, you know, it's like, fuck it. Every generation has to, you know, some of us have to duck, you know, we never know when, you know, you'll be a part of that generation that, you know, really has to duck when you go to lunch. Which I did, and I'm grateful for that. You know, I didn't have to duck.
Right.
Because, you know, there was violence. There was violence, but I was able to take a lot for granted, and I'm very grateful for that. But, you know, hey, c'est la vie.
All right,
you know, this
go
is
ahead,
just a
Blake.
part of the human condition.
Go ahead, Blake.
Well, yeah, sister,
Did you want to quickly respond or no? Okay, just want to make sure.
Yes. Yeah, am I here? I don't know if my microphone's
you're here. You're loud and clear. Rock it up.
This thing, I voted already. This thing keeps trying to push me to vote. I'll just say anything. So, the difference is the problem is the one category is taking and providing the perception that we are getting shot up in our targets and our schools and our churches in a ridiculous rate, as if this is the normal thing you're going to have to deal with as an American, is getting shot up at the CVS or getting shot up at school, when in fact that's not the more likely case of you being shot in America. The more likely case of you being shot in America is, one, cheat on your wife, two, go to the hood. That's how you get shot in America in the most case. But like the shootings on the street, though, Queen, we have a solution for it. We don't want to do that because we have to go out and target a certain demographic of people. When you totally hard in a certain area, when you children, right? Like we can. No, not at all.
No. Homicides at nearly the same rate as young black men.
Okay, so y'all are cool with it, and that's what I'm saying.
I'm not okay with. No, this is the difference. I'm not okay with it. But let me tell you what happens, and what we've all known for a long time is certain things you cannot do in the suburbs that people do in the city. It's just certain. Listen. Until the demographic from the city comes to the suburbs. That's just the truth of it.
In the suburbs.
We all look. And I bet you do. I bet you do. No offense. No.
A guy shot his wife.
Excuse me. Blake, are you finished or no?
No, I'm just going back and forth. But I don't mind. You know, but we just rapping back and forth if it's okay.
People that are trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can't.
Yeah.
It sounds muffled.
Yeah, I'll yield.
Queen sounds like
I'll yield.
She made a fort in her living room, and she has bad acoustics in it. Blake, you sound like you're standing on top of your car in a parking lot. So that's the problem that we're having here. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying that we can't hear. Yeah.
Okay.
Queen sounds like she's in her living room and she's inside. Okay, go ahead, Blake, and I'll let you guys get back forward.
I appreciate the call.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I didn't know that.
I like
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Blake, and I'll let Queen go back and forth with you.
She do. Yeah, she in the living room preparing. She in the living room preparing, waiting for the next shooter. But you know, the thing is, Queen, like when you go to the quote unquote hood, I'm just gonna use that as what we gonna call it.
Blake, you're in the matrix now, Blake. Blake, you're in the matrix. We can't hear you.
In the quote unquote. Oh dang. How about now? You know,
You're still choppy.
You're still a little choppy.
Sorry.
Barely.
How about now?
Yeah. Okay, try this now. If not, then I'm gonna hold on and there we go. Okay, you got it?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm saying like when you go to the quote unquote hood versus going to a decent suburb, here's the start, and I'll start with the more minor things that are indicative of the problem of the quote unquote hood, and that is you're gonna see ridiculous amount of loitering in places where people want and need to spend money and people need to make money. You're going to see people loitering and causing a tad bit, usually a minor but enough amount of a nuisance to make people not comfortable to live and pay rent in places to landlords. You have people more likely to destroy owners' property in those areas. You're going to see littering. You're going to see garbage all over the fucking place. This is coming from somebody who's from there and does live there. You know, I've chosen to go back to the city to take a stand on my little patch of grass. I don't own anything, but I'm renting and I'm working. I'm working in that city. My customers are in that city, so that's where I'm working at. But so I don't want any comments about, oh, you from the burbs. I grew up in both sides. So the deal is, when you go to the quote unquote hood, you're going to see trash all over the place. And people say that's not a big deal, but that's indicative of the bigger problem. You don't care about where you live. You shit where you lay. People in the suburbs, a Karen will actually curse you out for throwing a soda bottle on the ground.
No, Karen.
And a nigga who did it, who just moved into the neighborhood, is going to curse Karen out for getting in their face and being rude. Yes, she might have came at you rude, I guarantee you, but I bet you've seen 3 times as much rude in the hood than Karen can ever bring from Shaquana. I'm just saying. Now listen, she's gonna be a bitch, she's gonna be annoying, but you're gonna go back and you're gonna tell your mom. Then your mom's gonna come out and fucking go back and forth with Karen. And there we go, is a missed opportunity for an alliance in a neighborhood in which we both need to live. In the suburbs, the police do harass people at night if you don't look like you're from there. You know why? Because they ain't about to play that shit over there. It's always been the saying, when we knew about a certain railroad track that we don't want to cross at a certain time of night, and it's not because we're going to get hung for being black. It's because if we come up in there acting like a nigga versus being a black man who is a person who got a place to be, that's the difference. So whatever you want to say, the suburbs have had a more better reputation at dealing with snuffing crime out at the root versus in the quote unquote hood, you just let shit go. Because within those same cities, you don't even have to go to the suburbs. You can just go to a certain neighborhood in the city where more affluent people or more working class people live, and they kind of keep their neighborhoods clean. They kind of watch and be nosy when strange people are walking around who don't look like they've been there before or look like they're on the way to somewhere in particular. You know, people ask questions. Hey, what's up, man? Where you going? You know? But in the hood, do it too, depending on what neighborhood you go in, but it's for more nefarious reasons. You go to anywhere in LA that you don't belong, somebody's going to say, what's that you from? So those are the differences. That's the differences. And we know how to deal with that. We just don't want to do it because what is going to end up happening is you're going to have county jails full of young black men, and people don't like that.
Real quick, excuse me. Mr. Finley, I interrupted Queen before and Blake, so we're just going to start wrapping up this room here in just a moment. Queen, do you want to go back and forth with Blake? Just one more comment, then I'm going to go to Mr. Finley and we're going to shut it down.
Sure.
Just real quick, though, please, ma'am.
Yeah. So, that was an interesting spiel on how we're all different because of the color of our skin. But I'd like to offer a place of commonality, something that we all seem to share and all have a problem with, and that's keeping our kids from being shot. So we can talk about the grass. I really wasn't here to talk about grass or sighting or any of that dumb shit. I was here to talk about the lives of children, being a parent, knowing parents, watching my kid go to college and have to worry about some fool busting into his classroom and shooting him, right? I think that instead of focusing on socioeconomics and the differences between a poverty area with uncut grass and a middle class area where they may have money to pay somebody to cut their grass, I think we should keep the focus on keeping these children alive, which we're all seem to be failing on because we want to. We know what we want, right? We want our guns, and I love that for y'all. Y'all can keep them, but again, don't act surprised. When you see on the news the consequence of that. That's all I'm saying.
Got it. Thank you. I love that back and forth contention between Black and Queen. Mr. Finley is going to be our last speaker, and then we're going to go ahead and close down the room. If you are in the audience and have a pink ticket, please join. The house is pinned up to the top, the political compass. And if you have any room suggestions, flood Brad's DMs. Send him the most random, stupid shit you can ever find, to include how to use a crock pot. He just sent me a text, and he's eating burnt slop now, so Brad is not living his best life. So, Mr. Finley, and then we're going to go ahead and close.
So I was just going to say that to earlier comment that Blake made with respect to gang violence, we did figure out gang violence. Gang violence is no longer these turf wars that we had in the 90s in which random people were getting killed. Now the stuff is more targeted because it's those that are involved. That is a different problem, not the same problem we had in the 1990s. Number one. Number two, there's comparison between neighborhoods. The only reason that I live in an upper class neighborhood, the only reason our neighborhood is not in shambles is because we pay people to come in and cut grass and pick up trash. Like literally, these rich people don't pick up after their dogs. It's not a hood thing. People in the hood, quote unquote, hood, don't have people to pay people to come pick up the trash. That's the reason why it's like that. So this idea that's the reason why the criminals that you're making that reaches is wild at best. But I'm gonna leave it there. I'm totally gonna leave.
I heard KK. I didn't find that funny, and this shit is just ruined so much for that fucking meal. I didn't.
Well, that's what you get. There's a thing called Uber Eats, sir, and like TV dinners frozen.
I should have just cooked it outside and built a fire outside in the yard and cooked it.
Exactly. Thanksgiving. So Brad, do you want to close this out then, please, sir?
Yes. I want to thank everybody for coming today. Thank you so much for entertaining my afternoon and bearing with the abusive treatment that KK has lavished upon me so heavily. We thank you so much as always. Please make sure you follow us. We're going to be here usually on the afternoons. We'll figure out a schedule and we'll get better with the topics, a little bit more nuanced. We're shaking the rust off. 1 to 4 Central Time. If we need to, we'll open it up a little bit earlier to get you East Coast cats in. But we're going to try. We're working with this, and hopefully you enjoyed today. Come back tomorrow and see what else we got in store. Hey, is there anything else, KK?
No, sir. So I'm going to go ahead and close the room in 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hey, Yido, what's up? How are you? You're the first contestant on Ask a Christian. Yay! Or not. Good morning. How are you?
About to hop in the shower for a minute, so.
Sure. Makes sense. Join the room, then leave it.
Nah, I just saw you. Dude, that was what was up at the marathon yesterday?
I've been doing that more. Like, since I'm not working on, spinning my wheels on websites and all this extra stuff, I'm kind of like lost out in space floating around. So I'm like, well, what do I need to do with my extra time? So while I'm regrouping, I'm like, I'll just keep talking on Clubhouse. So yeah, they've been extra long marathon hangouts.
True. Yeah, I didn't mean for the SDA thing to get out of hand yesterday, man. That went on for a long time.
Well, I mean, I guess it's human nature at this point. Like, we like to punish ourselves because, I mean, I do it. I do it too. It's like, I'm not talking about this. And then someone asks a question, and 10 hours later, I'm like, oh, I guess I am talking about it. But did you notice this has got to be an example of something. Like, the Calvinist and non-Calvinist got along with hardly any opposition whatsoever. All it took to accomplish that was 2 SDA people and a King James only cultist. So peace can be had between the 2 factions.
Well, this is true, but at the same time, like, the non-Calvinists did behave themselves. Like, I don't care to get into Calvinism with people, but when they say crazy stuff or they make little snidey comments, like, I let some of the snide comments slide yesterday, but, like, overall it was peaceful because the aggressors
decided not to address.
Well, you know they'd say that about your side.
Well, yeah, I know, but I think they think great.
Yeah, so if everyone just takes it on the chin, peace can be had.
That's true. All right, I'm gonna hop into this shower. Play yourself some music, or actually, you know what you should do is.
It's making my own music. Yeah. What should I do?
So there's a brand new Robert Gottfried out that just came out yesterday, or maybe a few hours ago. That's about revolutions and Christianity, and it's really good. It's only 20 minutes long, and it goes into a lot of stuff about the American Revolution that you probably didn't know, and the establishment of religion with the federal government and all that jazz. And then it goes into the French Revolution and a compare and contrast between the American Revolution and the French Revolution. It's super interesting. You should check it out. I mean, if you got nothing to do before people start coming in.
Oh, I'm playing Fortnite. Ditto was here for like 2 seconds. Mike?
All right, well, I'll hop back out here in a minute.
All right. Anyone else watching the replay, this could be your time to shine. Get here early, ask all the questions you want. Oh, hey, Lou. Good morning, Lou. What's up, Lou? How are you? How's your day going?
Good. Just got my first break, as usual. How are you guys? What's up, good?
Just got here. Just getting started.
Very good. Yo, what's up with the podcast, man? Who do I have to call to complain to?
I don't know. I was just telling Chris. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know anything.
I'll call you later.
Yeah. Not sure what to do. It's like I took like a month off from doing that. Has it been a month yet? And it's like it already feels like a whole job to be like, oh man, I gotta like copy and paste and edit and put it back up there again. And then it's like, I don't want to do another YouTube channel. And it's like, well. And then also it's been like, very unorganized. Like, it's been going like 9 hours. But it's also, not really had structure. But it never has structure. So I don't know. I'm like, well, how much staying in my lane do I need to do? And then what even is my lane? So yeah. It's like, do I just stay here and do like extra long hangouts like the Google Plus days? But then, people can see them on replay, which I have started doing again, but I'm kind of regretting it because I'm like, I don't want to be like fighting and political. And then half of it is fighting and political. Hey, Michael. Morning. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. What I need is probably someone who's good at this stuff with structure and stuff like that can, I don't know, do all the stuff you want done. Lou, you want a free job?
I wish I could, man. I really do. I really wish I could.
How are you, Michael?
Oh, doing everything I can to avoid work.
Yeah. And then it's like, the last thing on that, it's like different groups seem to like different things. So, like, Rumble, it's hard to get any traction at all. YouTube, I can't really tell what they like. And then BitChute, it's like, that was actually the biggest audience of listeners. But I think they really liked all the political conspiracy theory stuff, which is super interesting and entertaining. But I'm like, how much do I want to go out of my way to get us all on some kind of list talking about like conspiracies that are probably true? No one's getting paid. So it's like, let's just talk about stuff that's like sensitive topics. And Not even the gospel. So I don't know. That's where I am. So
not even the gospel.
When we're talking about conspiracy stuff, like aliens under Antarctica, things like that. Oh. See, I just did it again. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Hey, one day, Floki.
You're having a midlife crisis right here, live on air.
Dude, great. I think so. Oh my gosh. But hey, if this is the extent of it, and I don't have to go buy a Corvette or anything like that, I guess that's okay. Yeah, if the extent of a midlife crisis.
If you're gonna have a midlife crisis, at least buy a Porsche. Come on.
I can never do that. You just call me a Porsche.
Because that's how it's pronounced.
I know. And then there's people like, yeah, man, I got a Porsche. And there's people that's like, you mean a Porsche? I'm like,
yeah, that will land me in jail because I will slap that person. It's hysterical because when my wife and I were in Germany for our honeymoon, so we went to Germany. We rented a 911 there, drove to the Nürburgring, drove around the Nürburgring, and stuff like that. And there was a guy there that was like, oh, this is really cool. Look at all these Porsches here. And the side eye that he got from everybody was just insane, and he immediately felt like a small person. It was interesting, and he expected to hear that music, that kind of wah, wah.
I'm sure not the guy who buys a Porsche jacket and doesn't have a car.
Yeah, what's funny is that gets railed on a lot. So almost every year when we're not away, they do basically the tutor. Or they keep changing it from tutor to IMSA and all these different things. Anyway, the sports car challenge at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, just east of us. And the years that I do go, I buy tickets for the Porsche Platz, because Porsche always has a big thing there. And they had if you own one, then you can get people the guys from Porsche Motorsport. If you the first year I was there was a guy who had a GT4, and he got the guys there to hook up and tune his ECU, and he went from that car normally has 420 brake horsepower, and this is a guy that I keep in touch with. His name's Erwin, and so the Porsche Motorsport guys they tweaked his ECU, and he took it to a place and put it on a dyno, and it was 505 horsepower after they tweaked it. And just amazing. But I don't want to get my warranty voided, so I don't do that.
Yeah. Wait.
That brings a question. Should Christians buy expensive things? Should we be doing that as Christians?
There's no reason not to. I mean, if you have, follow Romans 14 convictions. I mean, the Bible clearly, you see poor people, you see rich people. If people love, the answer. If people are in love with their money and treat it beyond just a tool, that's very problematic. And I think if you have a vulgar display of wealth that you're yes, I have billions of dollars, I have every nice thing, my toilets are made of gold, and you're zipping past every hungry homeless shelter doing nothing. I mean, that probably says something you want to check, do a heart check on. But no, if you're yeah, man, I'm a Christian, I'm moderately wealthy, I have nice cars, I like nice cars. That seems fine. I'd say, be generous with giving and stuff like that for people that need it. And then it's nope, I don't know anyone that needs it. It's have you tried looking? Or are you nope, I was driving so fast, I didn't see. Yeah, I drove so fast on the way to work that I didn't see a single person needing money. It's slow down to 60 miles an hour and see if there's someone maybe you could hand out a gift card to. I don't know. But no. Just having wealth and nice stuff is not in and of itself a bad thing. Do some good with that money.
Amen. I like to say, act your wage, right? Be responsible, and no matter where you at in your life, give. And giving doesn't mean money. It could be time. It could be space. It could be anything. Amen. Good answer, Nate.
You know, you would have said the same thing.
I just did.
And then there's Michael, who, you know, I'm sure is generous than many Christians, is more generous than many Christians, because he's, you know, talked about him and I guess his giving fund or whatever.
So here's another question.
I don't have a fund. I just give money to charity.
I don't drink, but how much? What is drunk? What does that mean? Like, is that subjective? Like, I know you can drink as a Christian, but like, how much is too much? I guess. Is it like the buzz? Is it like, I don't know. What is that? What do you think?
I think it's got to be somewhat, the line to crossing it has to be somewhat subjective.
Or is it?
You know, it's.
I'm sorry. Or is it your conscience that's leading when you're too much? When you're doing too much? I gotta go. But that's my question.
Yeah, I would say that too. I'd say objective drunk is when people are like drunk and passed out. You're like, yep, there's no question, they're blackout drunk. That line, yeah, would be like, you know, Romans 14, your conscience, right? Because some people will be like, well, when I stumble after every sixth step, that's getting close to the line. And so it's like, no, when I stumble after 2 steps or whatever, I don't know. However they mark that, and then it's like, as you get more and more tipsy, maybe your line of where am I actually drunk at, you keep kicking that down because you want to keep drinking. So it's like, oh, well, you know, if I was just starting off this way, I'd say this is probably getting close to that line, I should stop. But since I'm, in a happy buzz, I'm going to say, you know, that line, we're going to move that line a little bit further. And then later that night, when the room is spinning, you're like praying to God that you managed to wake up the next day. You're like, yeah, I crossed that line probably 5 hours ago. I'm sorry. So, having been in this position more times than is probably good, the Bible is not bad advice when it says work out your salvation with fear and trembling. So, I would say that is your ultimate guide.
Yeah, like it's interesting. Like there are legal positions, right? Like if you're going to get behind the wheel, I don't know what it is in the U.S., but like in Ontario, it's 0.08, right? Like that. Anything higher than that, you can be arrested for DUI. But like. I agree with you that it's completely subjective. So, I mean, how many times have one of us come across and it's like, are you feeling okay? Oh, I'm totally fine. Meanwhile, they can't. Yeah. Meanwhile, one eye's going in one direction and the other eye's going in a different direction, right? I'm okay, right? So, I mean, I would say that unless you're talking about, kind of the quote unquote, legal standard, then I think of course, it just becomes totally subjective. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, we make sure that, if people are coming over to our place, because, we'll regularly have, people come over and stuff like that or whatever on a weekend or something like that. And, I've got a liquor cabinet probably sufficient to kill everybody listening right now. But, I so rarely drink myself, but it's like, are you going to, it's like, are you guys sleeping over? We've got space for 4 people, right, to sleep over, so, you guys can, let one rip. Like, I don't care how much you guys drink. Everybody else, there's an understanding that if you come to my house that you, and like, I have this rule, like you put your keys by the front door and I'm the one that, if you're leaving, I'm the one that judges whether or not you can drive. And it's only been one time where I feel like, nah, man, I've taken, like, it was like, okay, we got to get out of here. I went up ahead of them and took their keys. I'm like, I'm not getting their keys. I don't want to have that on my conscience saying, this guy drinking, he killed somebody or something like that.
Yeah.
What are the legal ramifications in the U.S. if somebody comes and gets like just ripped drunk at your house and goes and leaves?
You mean for the person who lets them?
Yeah, yeah. I'm asking out of ignorance. I just don't know if there is a legal ramification for the individual, like for the homeowner.
I don't know that either because I mean, depending how forcibly they try not to let them leave, you could be looking at kidnapping. So So I
on top of that.
So I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know that. Felix, how are you?
I'm all right. Just listening. You guys were talking about levels of drunkenness and stuff.
Like Lou asked the question, biblically speaking, what would be considered drunk? Because the Bible says, you can drink alcohol, but don't be drunk. So how would you know when you're drunk? Is that a conscience thing, or how do you decide that?
Well, doesn't that depend on the level of tolerance of the person?
That was one of the things we were talking about.
Okay. Yeah. I would say I have such low tolerance that a dose of NyQuil, which has 10% alcohol in it, will have me tipsy.
Yeah, that's it. As soon as you say that, Felix, like my tolerance is next to nothing too. And so like when we go down south, the bars open at like 10 a.m. and I am, I'm drunk by 10:15. I have one drink and I'm done. Like I'm already like, whoop, yeah, I would not get behind the wheel right now. But it's interesting you say that when we talk about like conscience and stuff like that, because you reach a point where you're like, yeah, I got a buzz going on, but then you kind of hit that tipping point where you're like, nah, it's fine, right? Right? And so it's curious that you see that switch over, right, where you go from consciously aware to not aware anymore. You're like, yeah, like this person's so gone, they don't even know how gone they are.
So back when I was a Christian, or as some people say, thought I was, that was actually about around my college years as well. And so the college youth group, air quotes youth, the college youth group that I was a part of, we had a standard. And it was the gospel test. And if you could kind of like express the gospel without any sort of problems, you were still okay.
That's interesting.
You know that what Michael just said right now reminded me of when Jesus turned the water into wine, and they brought out that water turned into wine, and the host of the party, I guess I don't know how to say it in English. I'm sorry, I don't read it in English, the Bible. He said that he was surprised that they brought out the new wine, because usually, as he explains, they bring out the inferior wine after people are already drunk, and they can't tell the difference between fresh wine or good wine or whatever it is with inferior wine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what made me think of that when Michael said that.
Yeah, wine in general, like wine, I don't like wine. I understand that, there's people like, a good bottle of wine, this and the other thing. And I heard somebody say once, the best bottle of wine is the one you really like. And there seems to be this, this kind of conception that, unless you spend X number of dollars, on a bottle of wine, it's probably not a good bottle. And yet my wife enjoys this. She likes rosé. And so this one bottle of rosé, I guess if we worked at it in your money, it would be less than $10 for the bottle. And it's her favorite wine. And yet there's some people be like, it's like, it's not vintages, it's not, VQ, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's obviously garbage. It's obviously swill, right?
I've heard some things, I don't know if they're true or not, but some of it makes sense. Like how people would say about the vintage, they're like, it really only matters for like Italy and Europe, where not every year has like a good amount of sun because it's cloudy a lot, so the grapes don't get, I guess how proper grapes should be. But they're like, if you're getting something from California, it doesn't really matter because they have plenty of sun every year, so every year should be fine. That was one thing. The other thing is, someone said if a price point would be around $15, and their reasoning makes sense. I don't know if it's true or not, but they said if it's under $15, they are probably splitting it and adding things like sugars and stuff like that to make it taste better. But they're like, if you just want pure wine, they said like look for things above like $15, so it doesn't have like extra sugars and I guess stuff like that. Again, don't know if it's true, but kind of makes sense because I mean, whenever I was drinking, it's like I was definitely a budget connoisseur, so it's like $6.99, wonderful, and I mean it was very sweet, very good, probably mostly sugar, but yeah, I just got so sick of. I don't know if it was the sulfates, and people were going to give me advice right now. I've heard it before. I promise I don't care, but I'm not trying to drink anyway. Like I've been there, done that, probably more than a lot of people. And when I was younger, it was no problem. I'm spiritually, it's probably a problem, but it was no physical problem. You're younger, you bounce back up. But in my older years, it's like there's just a really good chance. It doesn't matter what it is, wine, alcohol, beer, or no matter what it is, there's probably like a 60-40 chance that I'm going to take one drink, immediately get this feeling that's like, uh-oh, you're going to have a headache. And I'll have a splitting, pounding headache the rest of the day, and it's awful. And I have no idea why. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I'm convinced it doesn't have anything to do with the quality or anything like that, because I can do the exact same thing 2 different days and have 2 different results. So finally, I think like last New Year's, the day after was, I think that's the last time I had any alcohol to drink. And I think I'd like to keep going on that path. So it doesn't even matter that, well, the Bible says you can drink. Well, yeah, but I mean, do I want to take a chance of getting a splitting headache? So that may be the bad reason for stopping. But still, for me, that's kind of where I am. So I'm like, I just got so sick of like awful headaches and high percentage chances of getting those headaches. Basically, if I look at a bottle of beer. So I'm like, no, man, I'm done. I've got enough headaches. I don't want any more of that.
But what's that line Chris Rock said in one of his videos once? You can drive a car with your feet if you want to. That doesn't make it a good idea. And yeah, like I think it's true. Like when it comes, like, so we're coming into, we're going to start to come into cooler weather soon, much to my wife's chagrin, at least. And so I start, this is when I'll put, like beef stew in the slow cooker or something like that for the day, right? And beef stew at night. And I use the cheapest bottle of red wine I can find for beef stew. I just want the flavor of it. And I've never had to spend more than, like you said before, like $6 and it usually doesn't even come in a bottle, it comes in a box, right? And I use I get usually 3 rounds of beef stew out of it. So, I'll make up, and then I'll put a couple in the freezer and stuff like that. And the cheapest bottle. And I don't even let my wife see what I'm using, because I think she'd be like, oh, I can't believe you're using, like, at least use this one. And she's never complained about my beef stew. So.
What was I going to say?
Look at us not talking about Jesus at all.
Well, it came from how much Christians drink and water and wine. And to be honest, I was like wondering, I'm like, is anyone going to ask a question about Jesus? Oliver, yeah, even Merlot or bourbon. I was part of a bourbon club for a long time, and yeah, like sometimes was fine, no problem at all. Other times, I'm like, uh-oh. After round 1, I'm like, headache's coming, and sure enough, headache came. It's awful. Like, doesn't matter what it is. But hey, Betty, hey, Sheep, what's up? How are you guys doing? I was saying yesterday, Chris came in here first. I was saying, did you guys notice how like the Calvinist Arminians got along? Okay, so how the Calvinists and Arminians got along brilliantly yesterday. No one like really started to fight. And I'm like, all it took was 2 SDAs and a KJV cultist to make that happen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yesterday there was that guy that I don't want to say grilling. It sounds overly harsh, but that this guy came in, and I think he addressed something I said or something. It might have been random. He addressed something that somebody said, and I think it got Chris's hackles up right away, and he started asking him questions. And eventually got to SDA, and then Chris was like, "Oh, but it didn't get terrible." So
it lasted about 4 hours. I think you.
I had to go. Yeah, I eventually had to time it. Yeah.
It was about 4 hours or more. The 2 of them came in. He got a buddy, and it basically turned into Ask an Adventist. And then after that, a KJV only. Hey, CEO, welcome. KJV only guy came in, and it's so weird. Like, it bugs me so much when people get these pet projects, and it's like, okay, you say you're a Christian. What is the main thing we need to know? Well, the Nephilim, you see. No. Okay, guys, you're a Christian? Great. What would you tell someone if you had 5 minutes to share the gospel? Grab a King James Bible and wait. Why? Because it's the official English word of God. All the others have been corrupted. Okay. How much do you think then? Totally. You cannot use the ESV. Oh, okay. Wrong. No. So it bugs me for their sake. Like, when they say they're a Christian and it's like they have all these like kind of side pet projects, which maybe we be too. But it's like, how beholden to those are you? If someone else says like, I'm a Christian, I love God, I just use the New American Standard Bible, and you're like, oh, you can't do that. Well, that's where it would be a problem. So I mean, the guy yesterday, he kept being like, I'm KJV only. No matter how much you guys argue against it, it makes me more sure of my position. But right, well, no, that's not our position. Like, if you want to only use the KJV, fine. But the issue everyone here was having, I don't want to talk about the guy because he's not here. CEO, I invite you up if you're not here. Steph, you send an invite me.
I'm here.
It takes a while to update. Anyway, so it's like our position is apparently this church is teaching him that the King James Version is the only acceptable English translation by God, and it's so good that it can even correct some of the original autographs, like the things we actually believe are inspired by the Holy Spirit, like the Hebrew, the Greek, all these other things. I'm like, oh, that's a problem. He's like, you just don't want me to use King James. It's like, no, use King James. We have no problem with that. The problem is saying King James has magical abilities to correct the things we actually believe are inspired by God. That's the problem. And no matter how many times we said it, he's like, I'm just right. You guys are arguing so hard against KJV that I know I'm right to use it. I'm like, use KJV. That's not the problem. Anyways.
Wait, you have to change the topic, but sorry, go ahead, Michael.
No, all I was going to say, it'd just be like 2 seconds, is that, yeah, I mean, like, even if you speak to quote-unquote prominent apologists, for example, Matt Slick will tell you that the NASB is a very good translation. Like, and so, like, if you want to go from, like, kind of, people who you would say are, experts are very well informed, this, that, and the other thing. What I've heard from other people, like, for example, Kip Davis, who's a Canadian biblical scholar, and stuff like that, like, he would say that the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version, is probably the best one of the ones that are available. I found that the KJV only people are probably the least open-minded about that kind of thing, where they'll be, like you said, Nate, like kind of dogmatic about it.
It looked like that. Just like that, we're talking about the Bible again. Win for Jesus. Okay. What was I going to say? What were you going to say? I don't know. Steph, what were you saying?
Look, just real quick. The church is not just spewing rhetoric. I don't know what corner of suburban America you live in, but the church is like I think it's still, the Catholic Church alone is still the top contributor of philanthropy as far as organizations in the world. And in fact, in world history, nobody has given more money or manpower to help the poor or, whatever than the Catholics. I mean, even just in New York State, Catholic Charities is like the largest contributor to rental assistance. So this is not, anyway. Okay. You should look up those numbers. Have we talked about this Minneapolis shooting already, Nate?
No. And I mean, I don't know. It's like, just as I'm like, I don't want to get political. Like, everything's like so juicy. This is like the apple hanging over us. It's like, do we? And it's like, as much as I know from like the headlines, I haven't really investigated. It seems like yet another trans shooter had a problem with Catholics and went to kill a bunch of them. I mean, am I wrong? Is that what you uncovered?
Okay, Steph, go ahead, and then I have to say something about it.
I just found out about it this morning, but I did read the manifesto that he'd written and like all this other stuff. But yeah,
What's the paraphrase of the manifesto?
It was actually really creepy. Well, it wasn't a manifesto. It was the suicide letter. It was actually really creepy because it was incredibly like sweet and sad. It
It was like all about how much he loved his family and asking his brother to forgive his mother and make up with her because she was a good person. And like, I don't know, the whole thing was just like really sad. And then apparently at the end, it's like, also don't read my journals unless you really want to. But it's like, I'm aware that I'm about to throw a wrench in all of your lives, but I've got to do this. Like, it was just really, 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 really sad.
So it's all about love and forgiving the mother. So why did he have to shoot a bunch of people?
I don't know. Well, I haven't read any of them. I guess the manifestos are written in like a secret code that he developed. So they're still working to decode this. Yeah, I don't know. But like written on the magazines for the gun is like, where is your God? And this is for the children. And there's one that says Jew gas. I don't know what that's about. Free Palestine, whatever, all the usual stuff. But it's just like, okay, yeah. So this guy, this kid who's 23, his mother worked as a secretary at this Catholic school. The kid attended the school for 1 year, and it doesn't say, I didn't see which year. And then wrote all this stuff. Apparently a couple years ago, petitioned to change his name from Robert to Robin, and then had planned this whole thing, and then went and shot up the school. 2 kids died. 17 people were injured. I think 7 are still in critical condition, but everyone else is expected to survive. Just like horrific. And then weirdly, 2 blocks away, like an hour before, was a completely unrelated shooting at an intersection in the same part of town where another person died.
Yeah, to the point earlier about Christian charity, imagine if they, them, instead of murdering people, would have focused on running a food bank. Just saying. CEO, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, so the coping on this app last night was pretty ghastly. I was in a room where they're like, yeah, so the Republicans just want to focus on him being transgender, but it's just another biological white male doing the shooting.
Wait. Wait a minute. Okay, they're confused now. So in the room last night, they were confused about whether they wanted to go with this was a biological white male or this person's gender pronouns need to be respected.
So if they don't shoot a bunch of people, they're totally a woman. If they do shoot a bunch of people, they get right, and it's a dude.
Correct. Yeah, yes. Wow. But that was pretty much what happened.
That's absurd. I mean, while it might be fair to say that historically that may be the case, that's a really unfair characterization. And I would have stood alongside you. Had it been their CEO, I would have stood alongside you to ridicule that individual or individuals.
So it sounds like it was many.
Because that's just dumb.
Sean, welcome. What's up, Sean? How are you?
Good morning, everybody. The sickness of this whole thing is we've got 2 dead children, 17 wounded children, 3 wounded teachers. I don't care if the person was black, white, Latino, Asian, transgender, LGBTQ, whatever. You done shot up a bunch of children.
100%.
That just goes beyond. I don't care where you land on the political spectrum either. When you do that to children, you just wrong. That's murder. And attempted murder.
Did the shooter at least survive to face punishment?
No, I think did they die by themselves or did someone?
No, he took his own life. Yeah.
The mental health gap, I think, is that, like, he writes this note trying to say, like, Mom, don't blame yourself, I forgive you, pretty much, as though that's going to help after the actions that were just taken. Of course she's going to blame herself. So it's really strange that he thought that was going to make a difference and that he went through with this anyway.
It's terrible.
The letter was just so sad because I was expecting to see some crazy stuff. And there was nothing crazy in the suicide letter except the line that was like, but I have to do that. Like, I have my mission and I have to do it. The rest of the letter was just like advice to the family and talk about how much he felt supported by his mother and by his friends and how much he loved his siblings. And was like, you guys have, like, the whole letter was just, you guys have always loved me and always supported me. I've always felt so accepted and respected by you. Like, as I was reading the letter, it's just like, what happened here? It didn't, the puzzle pieces don't fit together. Why does somebody who feels this loved and accepted by their family go out and do such a thing? It was actually really eerie. It's like more comforting to see someone write something completely out of their mind. I don't know.
I mean, I would wonder, like, you know, any medication or stuff like that. I mean, you know, there's so many questions. Like, I wonder if this could be a cause. Or I wonder, it's like, yeah, that is weird. I mean, you know, just taking what you said, it's like, hey, Mom, hey, love you, you did great. No complaints at all. I'm gonna go shoot up your work now. That
was pretty much it. Yeah.
Hey, Rod, what's up? How are you, Rod?
I want to say real fast. Okay, so we know we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So the race of the person that's committing the crime is not that important because we're really fighting against we're in the spiritual warfare. But I will say, from time to time, we can't help but recognize the race of the person based on the crime that's committed. Like, you know, it was this drug raid and, you know, this and that. And this guy had on his grill and gold. You might say that was a black person, but if it was this or that, then that was probably white. But see, that we don't want to get too involved or too deep in that unless we're like trying to, you know, protect our family. Hey, you know, be careful in this area, whatever. But my main point for wanting to come on the stage is just to say that, you know, I agree with you guys. You know, I thank God that, you know, that we as believers recognize that, you know, we as Christians, we're not in that just a physical warfare against race. And that's the sad part about it, because, you know, I go to these rooms and these black, or they don't like being called black Hebrew Israelites. The Israelites, they're spinning it and keeping the race war going, and it ought not be. Some of my best friends are white. Most of my best friends are black. It doesn't matter when you have the love of God. And that's the part that I'm glad that I'm seeing you guys are pushing and defending the faith every day. And that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Rod. Thanks for sharing. Sean, see you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the race and gender only matters from the sense of you're trying to help understand what the person's like life experiences were. So I think that's the only way that it mattered. It's not so much from a pattern perspective. I mean, but like on the flip side of it, we can all admit, like, if this had been like a Japanese woman who did one of these, we would all be shocked, right? I mean, like, let's not pretend we wouldn't.
That is true, but also relevant here is like that a trans person is shooting up a Christian institution. Like, it, you know, this is all like, okay, one of the sightings, or one of the guy had like written, I guess, all over the magazines of the gun, and then had released some information on YouTube, and that's what people are kind of combing through or whatever. So one of the events that this guy had cited was the Buffalo shooting at the Tops, which I don't know if you guys remember, but that was like a white dude who shot up a Tops in a black neighborhood, claiming.
I remember that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's also relevant. Like, the white guy shooting up the Tops in a black neighborhood, saying that's because that's where the black people were, is relevant. A trans person shooting up a school full of Christian children and it's in a church is also highly relevant, right? Like, this isn't like, I don't know, like, okay, there was a shooting 2 blocks away or whatever, 2 or 3 blocks away on the same day, and that they're saying is completely unrelated. And that was, like, not racially motivated. It looked like someone was shooting on a corner in Minneapolis, like shooting into cars, right? Like that. So I don't know, was it a personal vendetta? One person died from that, but it's like that doesn't seem to be like, were they trans? What color were they? This was a big person shooting at cars. So we're not we're not so like interested. But when it's a trans person shooting up a school or an angry white guy shooting up a Tops in a black neighborhood, this does seem like it's worth talking about somewhere, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, what that statistic, right? There's something like there's 3 or 4 quote unquote mass shootings in the United States every day, and yet I think Stefan, I think what you said is completely right. Like so here's 2 shooting events a few blocks away from each other, but only one seemed to garner attention. Yeah, why? Oh, because it seemed more controversial. Isn't this one that's going to be more, provoking in some way to talk about, right? Yeah, I think that there's a lot of truth to that. But I think it's easier, and it's also when you're talking about a group of people, right? If you can put them in a group, then it's easier to other that group, and right? Oh, it's these people did X, these people did Y, these people did Z, and it's easier to malign it's easier to malign a group than it is an individual.
Well, this is where it would be, and I hope we're not have to keep talking about this forever, but it's like where some people, on the other side usually, would want to assign hate crimes, where, crime is crime, you don't need to add the word hate to it. We get it. It's already a crime. But for people that want to add hate crimes, this is kind of where it goes next level into that territory. Because if someone like, you said the other people shooting stuff, if it's someone who gets drunk in a bar and just goes to shoot people, and there's no other reason than they're mad and drunk, or maybe someone offended him, yes, that's bad. That's already a crime. But if you have 2 like known opposing groups, for whatever reason, race, religion, creed, whatever reason, and then someone of one group goes and like does this kind of thing to another group, it's almost like an extra level. I mean, crime is still crime, but that's where people would get the extra emphasis, and where it gets national spotlights, right? Like when I guess that's the reason some garnered more attention, because it's like, oh, they weren't just mad indiscriminately going after people. It's like they seem to have a very special animus towards this other opposing group, and I guess that's why it gets the attention, because out of all things being crimes, this one has a little extra something to focus on. But to Rod's point, yeah, I mean, the biggest point is from the Christian view, the eternal perspective. Yeah, this person did a bunch of bad stuff, and hopefully the kids were already believing in Jesus, so they're in heaven. They probably wouldn't change a thing now. But as far as the remainder, the parents and the wounded and things like that, there's a whole spiritual probably crisis unfolding. Like, why did God let this happen? Does God love me? How do I know this? Why would a good God do this? And then they'll read the Bible and they'll get their heads right. But then the person that did this act seems safe to say they're not proclaiming Christian views. So if they're rejecting Christ, doing this evil stuff, their eternal state is very bad. And then half of the grumpy Christians will be like, that's what they deserve. It's like, this is where I don't want to carry water for evil people. But the point is, any loss of life is unfortunate. And then they're like, even that murderer? Yes, because it's unfortunate that murderer had to be a murderer. Get it? And they're like, oh, you mean if that guy hadn't killed a bunch of people, that would be unfortunate? Yes, the whole thing is a tragedy. So it's a tragedy that they had to be in that position and do that thing in the first place. But since they did, now they're in a very, very bad place for all eternity, spiritually speaking. And that's like the ultimate tragedy, because there's like no do-overs. So it's just awful all around. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's awful all around.
Happy to say.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I would say is if it's fair to say, like, so everybody remembers, the Pulse nightclub shooting from Miami a few years back, right? Okay, if it's because that was instantly labeled as a hate crime, right? That was like in 9 seconds, people called that a hate crime. Was it? Probably. But if it's fair to call that a hate crime, then it is also fair if some person ran into like a Christian school or a church. I didn't read any details about where this actually happened, but it was people of faith that were murdered. If it's fair to call one a quote unquote hate crime, it's also fair to call the other one a hate crime, and that's something that I think doesn't get pointed out. Like it seems, and this is coming from someone firmly on the left. It seems that the left is more prone sometimes to look at something that happens and goes, hate crime, because both things can be true.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of exposes bias, right? Because if they want to call one thing a hate crime and they don't on the other, it's like, gee, it seems exactly the same. except a couple key differences. But Sean, were you saying something? Is that you, Sean?
So,
yeah, go ahead, Sean.
So, let me say this. Before my daughter was murdered in April by that coward she was married to, the Lord had given me a word. And He said it's not about black, white, polka dot, or green, but it's a spirit of murder over this country. And everybody want to make it as somebody's crazy, they done lost their mind. That is not true. People open up the door and let that demon in. And it goes back to the word that someone shared earlier. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of darkness and high places. We just got to quit saying people are crazy. They're not crazy. It's not about what religion you are. It's just downright a spirit of murder. And nobody's praying against it. Everybody want to run right here where we live at. The church folks run right here, not worried about their feet being shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. They want to run right here and dance and shake their tail feathers to the song "Boots on the Ground." And you can't fight against the enemy when you operating in the spiritual realm. I mean, when you're operating in the natural realm. You know, we just got to realize what it is. It's not about a color. It's not about a Democratic or Republican or independent. It's a spirit of murder. And what are we gonna do about it?
I completely agree. The foundation is spiritual rot and decay.
So, I'm curious, Nate, what you think about was NET, New English Translation. My brother, who went through LCMS seminary, he has developed an affinity for the NET, and he showed it to me. And I don't know, I think the NET version is pretty good.
I am not really familiar with that. Does anyone else? Sean, Steph, or you?
Oh, but weirdly, this came up yesterday.
Oh, damn. That's crazy. It's like blazing hot over here. It's like 80 here in California.
We've had some nice weather here. Our high has only been like 80, but it's kind of been hovering in the 70s.
Yeah, it's been gorgeous.
It's been nice.
I just avoided another, you know how you have friends on Clubhouse that don't always get along? Well, that's the case in real life too. I guess I consider Clubhouse to be IRL too. Yeah, I don't mean any disrespect. But a neighbor came, there's two neighbors that constantly have a contingency, and it's like, guys, just leave me out of it. Just leave me out of it, and they just consistently are. One of them tries to egg me on, like, oh God, yeah, and she calls the other one crazy. She's like, that crazy. Did you hear her yelling yesterday or whatever? And I'm like, I didn't hear nothing. And it's just kind of the same, where it's like, fight your own damn battles and leave me out of it. Now, we were talking about how, if somebody was going to start to pile on to, MG or something like that. There's sometimes when you got to let people just kind of just fight it out so that they have an understanding, or that the worst thing you can do is really just squash the argument or squash the discussion, even if it gets heated. And a lot of people have a tendency to do that when to women who are getting heated or they're like, well, she's getting just really emotional, whatever. And I think that's not a productive thing to do, because everybody has feelings and everybody feels strongly about stuff sometimes.
Oh, I used to get so pissed off when I get kind of raised up, get my energy up a little bit, and someone's like, oh, you've been hurt. Who hurt you? Oh, you're so mad. Who hurt you? Oh, dude, I hate that when people say that to me. It's like, nobody hurt me, motherfucker, and don't gaslight the room that I'm hurt. I'm not hurt, fucker.
Why are you so mad? Why are you so emotional?
You've got issues, dude. It's your issue. You've got issues. Yeah. Yeah, I just had to